Buried light. 27 days under Copiapó. I never imagined darkness could have so many layers. The initial blackness when the mine collapsed. The deeper darkness that followed as hope began to fade. And finally, the most profound darkness. The one that seeps into your soul when you believe the world above has forgotten you. My name is Miguel Sanchez, and for 27 days, I was buried alive. I've been a copper miner at the San José mine outside Copiapó, Chile, for 15 years. Mining isn't just my profession. It's in my blood. My father was a miner, as was his father before him. In a region where jobs are scarce, the mine provided a steady income for my family. My wife Camila and our 2 daughters, Elena and Lucia. Mining is dangerous work. We all knew it. The San José mine had a troubled history, rock falls, accidents, even deaths. There were rumors about safety violations. But we needed the work. When you have hungry children at home, you learn to silence the voice of fear. August 5th, 2010, began like any other day. I woke before dawn, kissed my sleeping wife and daughters, and joined the other miners for the hour-long drive into the Atacama Desert. We descended into the mine around 8 a.m. 33 of us split between different sections and levels. I was working with 5 others about 700 meters underground when we heard it. A sound no miner ever wants to hear. It began as a low rumble, like distant thunder. Then came the cracking, explosive noises, as the mountain itself seemed to shatter around us. "Derrumbe! Cave in!" someone shouted. We ran toward the ramp leading to the surface, but it was too late. A massive dolomite slab, twice the size of the Empire State Building, had collapsed, blocking our escape route completely. The air filled with dust so thick we couldn't see our hands in front of our faces. We pulled our shirts over our mouth, trying not to inhale the choking cloud. When the dust finally began to settle, the reality of our situation emerged. We were trapped 700 meters underground with no way out. Those first hours were chaos. Some men prayed, others wept, a few raged against our fate. I found myself oddly calm, focused on what needed to be done. We needed to organize, take inventory of our resources, and most importantly, find the other miners. Using our helmet lamps, we navigated through partially collapsed tunnels, calling out for our companions. Eventually, all 33 of us gathered in the refuge chamber, a room about the size of a studio apartment designated as an emergency shelter. It had some limited emergency supplies, a small water tank, and a first aid kit. Our foreman, Luis Urzua, immediately took charge. "We need to ration what we have," he said, his voice steady despite the circumstances. 1 spoonful of tuna, a sip of milk, and half a cookie every 48 hours. The refugee chamber had been stocked with enough food for about 3 days. We were 33 men. Simple math told us we were already living on borrowed time. We established routines to maintain sanity. Every day, we'd meet to discuss our situation and boost morale. We assigned tasks, monitoring the water, checking for structural changes in our surroundings, searching for ways to communicate with the surface. We even designated one corner of the chamber as a chapel, where those who wished could pray. The heat was our constant companion, a sweltering 35 degrees Celsius with over 90% humidity. We stripped to our underwear, our bodies constantly coated in sweat that never dried. Many developed painful fungal infections and rashes. The darkness, too, was overwhelming. We used our helmet lamps sparingly, knowing the batteries would eventually die. By the end of the first week, our meager food supplies were dwindling fast. Hunger became an obsession. I found myself dreaming of my wife's cazuela, a rich Chilean stew with corn, potatoes, and chicken. I would wake from these dreams with my stomach cramping painfully. The water situation was equally dire. The tank in the refuge held about 10,000 liters, but much of it was contaminated with motor oil from nearby machinery. We filtered it through shirts, but it still tasted foul, metallic, and oily. Still, we drank it, knowing dehydration would kill us faster than hunger. As the days passed, the physical challenges were matched by psychological torment. Some men became depressed, sitting silently for hours. Others grew irritable, snapping at the smallest provocation. Arguments broke out over trivial matters, the distribution of food, sleeping arrangements, even breathing too loudly. I found myself thinking constantly of my family. Had there been rescue attempts? Did Camilla and my daughters think I was dead? The not knowing was perhaps the cruelest aspect of our imprisonment. We tried various ways to signal our location to potential rescuers. We hammered on the rocks. We shouted until our voices gave out. We listened intently for any sound from above, a drill, voices, anything that might indicate we hadn't been forgotten. On the 17th day, everything changed. We were sitting in near total darkness, conserving our lamp batteries, when we heard it, a faint drilling sound. At first, we thought our minds were playing tricks on us, conjuring what we desperately wanted to hear. But the sound grew louder. "They're looking for us," someone shouted. We rushed to where the sound seemed strongest and began hammering on the rock face, trying to guide the drill toward us. Hours passed as the drilling continued, sometimes fading, sometimes growing stronger. Then suddenly, the drill broke through into our chamber. When it withdrew, we crowded around the small hole, about the diameter of a grapefruit, that now connected us to the world above. A note was lowered through the hole. "Are you all 33 okay?" It read in Spanish. Victor, one of the younger miners, grabbed a red marker and scrawled our response on a piece of paper. "Estamos bien en el refugio los 33. We are all 33 well in the shelter. When that note reached the surface, we later learned Chile erupted in celebration. Bells rang out across the country. Our families, who had been maintaining a constant vigil at the mine entrance, wept with joy. But we were still trapped. The rescuers explained through notes sent down the small borehole that it would take weeks to drill a shaft wide enough to extract us. We would need to survive at least another month underground. With the borehole established, however, our conditions improved dramatically. Food, water, and medicine were sent down in small capsules they called palomas, doves. We received letters from our families. A telephone line was installed, allowing us to speak with our loved ones for the first time since the collapse. I will never forget hearing Camilla's voice, breaking with emotion, telling me she loved me. Or my daughters, trying to be brave but unable to hide their tears, promising they were being good for their mother. The Chilean government mobilized an unprecedented rescue operation. 3 separate drilling operations were undertaken simultaneously, racing to reach us first. NASA sent experts to advise on surviving in confined spaces. Psychologists counseled us daily through the telephone line, helping us cope with the continuing ordeal. With the improved supplies, we began to regain our strength. We organized ourselves into 3 groups with different sleep schedules to avoid overcrowding in our limited space. We cleaned our refuge as best we could. We even established a democratic system for making decisions, with Luis remaining our leader, but major issues decided by vote. The drilling continued day and night. We could hear it constantly now, a mechanical heartbeat reminding us that we were not forgotten. Yet, as days stretched into weeks, new challenges emerged. The close quarters, lack of privacy, and uncertain future created tensions. Some men became territorial about sleeping spots. Others hoarded their food, despite the regular deliveries. I found myself appointed as a mediator of sorts, helping resolve conflicts. Perhaps it was my calm demeanor, or perhaps others simply recognized that division would only make our situation worse. We entered this mine as 33 individuals, I told the men during one particularly heated dispute. But we will leave it as one unit, or not at all. On October 9th, we received news that Plan B, one of the 3 drilling operations, had broken through to our refuge chamber. The rescue shaft was complete. Extraction would begin within days. The final preparations were both practical and emotional. We were sent clean clothes for our ascent. We organized our few possessions. We wrote last letters to be delivered if our rescue failed. We made pacts about how our story would be told, vowing to stand together in solidarity after our rescue. The extraction capsule, dubbed Phoenix, was designed specifically for our rescue. It was a narrow metal cylinder, barely wide enough for one man, equipped with oxygen, communication devices, and an escape hatch in case it became stuck during the ascent. We decided the order of our rescue collectively. The strongest would go first, to test the system, followed by the weakest, who needed medical attention. Then the more stable men, and finally, Luis, our foreman, who insisted on being the last one out. I was number 17. When my turn came, I embraced my companions, some of whom I'd known for years, and others who had been strangers before our ordeal, but were now closer than brothers. Then I stepped into the Phoenix capsule. The door closed, and I found myself in complete darkness once again. But this time, darkness meant hope. The ascent began, the capsule spinning slowly as it was pulled upward. For 20 minutes, I stood confined in that metal tube, feeling every bump and swing as it rose through 700 meters of solid rock. Then suddenly, light. Blinding, brilliant light. The capsule door opened, and I emerged into a world of noise and color and fresh air. Medical personnel immediately surrounded me, checking my vitals, shielding my eyes from the intense desert sun after so long in darkness. And then, through the chaos, I saw them, Camilla and my daughters, crying and laughing simultaneously. I was helped to my feet and they rushed toward me, the feeling of my family in my arms again after believing I might never see them. There are no words adequate to describe such a moment. One by one, all 33 of us returned to the surface in the same way. The last miner emerged after midnight on October 14th, 2010, ending our 69-day ordeal. Not a single life was lost. The world celebrated our rescue. We were hailed as symbols of endurance and hope. For a brief time, we were celebrities, meeting presidents, appearing on television, telling our story again and again. But fame is fleeting, and the aftermath of trauma is complex. Many of us struggled to adjust to normal life. Some battled depression, anxiety, and PTSD. Others faced financial difficulties when the promised compensation and support failed to materialize fully. Families that had been reunited sometimes fractured under the weight of changed personalities and expectations. I was more fortunate than most. With Camilla's support, I found ways to process what had happened. I spoke with counselors. I connected with other disaster survivors. Most importantly, I discovered purpose in sharing our story. not the sanitized, heroic version that made headlines, but the messy, human reality of 33 imperfect men who found strength in unity. I never returned to mining. Instead, I found work as a safety consultant, helping companies improve their protocols to prevent similar disasters. The irony isn't lost on me, that the worst experience of my life led to my current purpose. 12 years have passed since those 69 days beneath the Atacama Desert. The world has largely moved on, finding new disasters to mourn, new miracles to celebrate. But for the 33 of us who lived it, and for our families who suffered alongside us, the San José mine remains a defining chapter in our lives. Not all the lessons from our ordeal were immediately obvious. Some revealed themselves only with time and reflection. I learned that human beings can adapt to almost unimaginable circumstances. That hope is as essential as water or food. That leadership isn't about authority, but about maintaining a vision when others can't see beyond the present moment. I learned that community can emerge from crisis. The 33 of us were diverse in age, background, and personality. Under normal circumstances, many of us would never have formed friendships. Yet, in the depths of the earth, those differences became insignificant. We recognized our shared humanity and our absolute dependence on one another. Perhaps most surprisingly, I discovered that traumatic experiences can contain unexpected gifts. I don't mean to romanticize what happened. It was horrific, and I would never wish it on anyone. But buried within that ordeal were moments of profound connection, instances of extraordinary kindness, and revelations about what truly matters in life. Today, I live quietly with my family in a small house outside Santiago. Elena and Lucia are in university now, studying engineering and medicine respectively. Camila operates a small bakery that has become a neighborhood gathering place. Our lives are ordinary in the best possible way. Sometimes at night, I still dream of the darkness. I wake disoriented, momentarily believing I'm still trapped beneath the earth. In those moments, Camilla reaches for me, her presence an anchor to the present. "You're home," she whispers. "You're safe." And I am. But a part of me will always be in that mine, in the company of 32 other men who became my underground family. We don't all keep in touch. Some preferred to put the experience behind them completely. But we share an unspoken bond that transcends regular friendship. Last year, on the 10th anniversary of our rescue, several of us gathered at a small restaurant in Copiapó. We ate good food, drank good wine, and told stories. Some about our time in the mine, but mostly about our lives since then. Our children, our grandchildren, our victories and setbacks, the ordinary miracles of everyday existence. As the evening ended, Luis, our former foreman, raised his glass. "To life above ground," he said simply. We all raised our glasses in response, but what remained unspoken was equally powerful. An acknowledgement that sometimes we must journey through darkness to truly appreciate the light. As I walk under the open sky each morning, feeling the sun on my face and the wind in my hair, I think of those 69 days when such simple pleasures seemed lost forever. And I remember the words I scribbled on the wall of the refugee chamber during our darkest hours, words I still live by today. La oscuridad es solo la ausencia temporal de luz. Darkness is only the temporary absence of light. Author's note: while Miguel Sanchez is a fictional character, his story is based on the real events of the 2010 Copiapó mining accident, where 33 Chilean miners were trapped underground for 69 days, following the collapse of the San José copper gold mine. Their successful rescue was watched by an estimated 1 billion people worldwide and stands as one of the most remarkable survival stories in modern history. This narrative honors the courage and resilience of those miners and the extraordinary international rescue effort that saved their lives.